Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at more TexTalks BattleTech, specifically Access to Elementals and Primer to the Clans Part 2. Last time around, we finally got to actual elementals, which is surprising because they were really in the first part, even though it was called elementals. Just pointing it out there, it's kind of weird. On the other hand, it would have been much more depressing if we was like, hey, just remember, this is coming up, because this is probably the most epic part of the clans altogether. Don't get me wrong, I love the Mad Cat. I love a lot of the crazy ass shit that came from those designs. But the elementals are the coolest thing ever. They are legitimately amazing. More importantly, I'm hoping we get to go into some crazy patterns they have. I don't know. I'm just trying to hope to blot out the memory that Nicholas Kerensky is still in this and still alive, and there's going to be more fuckery coming, because of course there is. Of course there is. Otherwise, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video from the Black Pants Legion and Tex. Hit it up because they're pretty damn awesome. You guys know that. We know that. We all know that. I said we 3 times. Whatever. Just do that, and let's get started.
At any cost. Having fought for and against many of these neo-feudalistic states myself, I can tell you that their checks usually clear on time. And aside from Capellans, they're no better.
Hey! Sorry, I love the fact that this line right here, having worked for these neo-feudalistic myself, it's just like, oh, cool, we're actually going into characters. Normally he's just narrating and we get the character pieces at the beginning and the ends when he's doing the entire presentation. Here, he's dropping into character. Normally you break out of character, but here he's dropping into it just to give that little bound about, hey, you know, they pay their checks on time except Capellans. I have no idea why they are my closest faction inside Harebrained Schemes BattleTech. I made mistakes. I don't know why this happened, and I regret everything.
Worse than the rest of us. But that's merely the opinion of an old mercenary.
That is so cool.
Clanner culture is engineered to reinforce the idea that the descendants
cool.
of the Exodus fleet are the true inheritors of Star League, and that the common way of life exemplifies these values. Honesty, working for the common good, working for honorable purposes, and upholding the virtues of the Star League as a sort of idealized, perfect living utopia.
Oh, wow, yeah. I could see them holding up the honor thing because by their own standards, they're living honorably. I could see them working for the common good. Most clans, some clans better than other, are able to live up to what they think is the common good. The goal is a Star League. Yeah, no, they dropped the ball on that one, and it's why this entire series is legitimately painful. It's getting better now, we're getting further away, but it's still there.
These values are established to avoid repeating the excesses of their own history and the seemingly unending cycles of destruction inherent throughout human history as a whole.
Yeah, they got rid of the inherent cycles of destruction and instead started their own kind of low-key but constant cycle of destruction and backstabbery and all the basic clan infighting you get, which is not as bad as the Innosphere, but also they have less people to work with. And then there's just the fact that, you know, they still invaded and did the exact damn thing Amaris did. And then also technically Kerensky did. And then they did it back to basically just, yeah, that cycle, that definitely ended that one.
Whole. As such, they have turned war into a sport. A challenge between parties, bargained and bartered with exceptionally strict terms of conduct. And I say war is a sport because that's as close as I can reckon it. To clanners, conflict must be as fair as possible. The clanner way of war is to ensure parity between opponents, with the greater forces bidding away their advantages, whatever they may be.
Yeah, I was going to say something about how war as sport, but there's actually a lot of historical precedents for that. Specifically, what I'm thinking about is in most cultures that had sword fighting, it went from you need to learn sword fighting because you're going to fight to it is the sophisticated art form, followed by now it's the, ooh, cool swords, which I am very much the latter of. Hey, I did fencing. I got a D rating in the USFA. Also, that might not sound like much because it isn't, but it was fun. Also, there's also the non-Olympic style, which is CSA? I cannot seem to remember. It's more of the reenactment style, which some people take very seriously and are very good at, and it looks really fun. Also, sometimes you wear armor. But just, it's not unusual to see war as an art form because we do that now in modern history. Kendo in the, or I guess Japanese cultures, there's many different forms of that. Martial arts in general, it is literally an art form. There are championships, there are sports of it. It is in the Olympics. And it looks really damn cool. But yeah, this is actually the most realistic thing I've heard in all of BattleTech. War as art form, specifically as a sport. Sure, they're playing a little more bloody than normal, but it makes perfect sense. Hell, wargaming.
To ensure the contest is as even as possible. If you have warships and your opponent does not, you don't use them to absolutely wreck their planets. You bid them away and challenge them on fair terms for their territory. If you have assault mechs and your opponent mere infantry, you changed your lineup to ensure an honorable combat.
They would have line
amongst
infantry?
Equals.
Elementals.
This would gain you honor, even if you lost. While this system is, to me, tragically stupid, as it eliminates the point in maintaining a technological or logistical advantage over your opponents, it does have its merits, if few.
You know, I was bringing up the entire war as sport, but I just realized we're thinking about the clan's warriors all wrong. And it makes a lot more sense if you just change one thing. Specifically, Ghost Bear is looking at it right, with their love of American football. Warriors are not the military. I mean, they function in that well, but they function closer to sports heroes, like legends on the field, people who are really famous at what they do. Pele or Wayne Gretzky. I'm just going to leave that in there because I have a hockey family. I'm going to leave it at that one just because. Babe Ruth. These are people who you idolize for what they could do in the sport. And with how they've ritualized it and condensed it and codified it with ritualizations, well, rituals, and bidding process, no, it makes a lot more sense when you view it in those terms. It is a sport. This is literally Monday Night Football, but for much higher stakes and much bigger losses. Or basically rugby. Why does that make so much sense? It makes, it's literally just Monday night. It shouldn't function that well. And then the invasion is basically just telling the freaking baseball players to go to war, or the football players to go to war, and it works because their skill sets are identical, but it just... The irony, of course, is the reason some, what I mentioned earlier, martial-related activities became hobbies and sports in their own rights was due to the initial idea that if you did these in the pastime just to maintain your equivalency, basically you don't get rusty. And then it becomes a sport after people do it long enough. Here, it's a sport, but also keeps them from getting rusty so they can get better, and they're pushing themselves basically the exact same way some high-end athletes push themselves, except to the better extremes because they have more, better medicine to know how to push themselves. It makes so much more sense. It literally makes sense. Why? We even treat athletes in the same way that the clans are being treated, with more power, but it's so similar. I'm certain this was not intentional, but the parallel is there, and it really does work. Not perfectly, but it does it all, which is...
has always been, in essence, a violent real estate business.
Yeah.
With both sides trying to be the firstest with the mostest. War has historically been a contest between states to see who could put more warfighting capacity into a war zone, to have or develop an advantage in numbers
people were
and
excited
material,
and they lined up to watch
use
it.
that leverage to overcome the defenses of your enemy. Clanners determined that war was to take enemy real estate and keep it without inflicting catastrophic damage in the process, at least in theory. War, to them, was governed in a sense to prevent it from spilling over or escalating beyond the contest as established and agreed upon between the declared combatants. And
okay, I just need to go back and I just look at that because that is so cool. Sorry, in general, I just love the elementals and just seeing them down there swinging around, tearing through the troops, and it looks like they're going for this guy's leg. Yeah, he's shooting the back of the leg. And this guy, he could barely even hit them at this point because they're so small. I mean, he could probably just put his gun down, but then he'd have to put his gun down. And sorry, I love this. Is like that middle ground of where it's slightly older art. It's not the oldest art. That looks janky. This is the really detailed, really gruff, more like 90s aesthetic, kind of trying to ape the 80s with its really gritty enthusiasm. But you can just see it, and it looks so cool because they have a lot more detail and just... I love this art. I just really love it. I love seeing the elementals just jumping around. Yeah, this is probably either early 2000s, late 90s. I would be very surprised if 2000s, though. Definitely 90s is what I'm going with on this. If not, someone knows, let me know. I would appreciate it, but just... Oh. Also, all the Mad Cats, the Atlases, a few giant tank. Holy shit. Just comparison that this is... Wow. That this is an Atlas in the foreground, in front of this, because we can see the lines going in front of this and hitting here. So this is further back, and it is huge by comparison. Just to keep in mind, on a sheer 1-to-1 level, it's up to the knee. But considering this is further back in the background, that thing is probably massive, unless it's just weird art perspective and they're just ignoring. But I don't care because it's cool.
And while I would love to expound further on Clanner society at this point, from the Bushido light that is Zelbriggan, to the mysteries of the Honor Road, to Batchels, and how to claim your very own bondsman, I feel that perhaps this would be its own lecture series down.
BattleTech episode 708, Clan Home Recipes and Board Games. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you ever put out like a small little primer about just the domestic side and just went into very short detail on it, I'd watch it and I'd really enjoy it. Would everyone else? Probably at this point, yeah. Just throw it out there. I'd watch it.
The road. Let me know. The main point of my analysis here is that Clanner society is one of rules, honor, and strict systems of control, engineered to produce a unified society.
Wow, this image. There is a lot being said just with these three people. Of course, Jade Falcon, so purple turkeys are at it again. I'm just looking at this and going, no capes! They're in mechs, so it doesn't matter as much, but come on, we all thought it. I mean, well, I did. But we got the super serious leader doing the, I'm guessing, praise the sun. And we see the one lady here going, oh shit, they're doing the stupid. And this guy's going, oh yeah, they're doing the stupid. It's just a little variation of how one side is enjoying the other. You can tell she's clapping because she has to. It's a small little clap with a restrained smile. Then this one's a much bigger clap with a really, ooh, nice, happy smile. I just love how in such small detail they can get across a lot. And this is some of the older art because you can see the style. This matches more with what I would think of maybe 80s or 90s print booklet stuff. Definitely not 2000s, I would assume, but maybe 80s, I would assume later, just because the faces aren't fucked up. Could be 90s too. But just, so actually, I think if it's clans, it would be 90s to 2000s. Because I don't think they were revealed in the 80s, but I think they were planned for in the 90s. Still, though, this is, it's little bits of scenery like that. There's little bits of detail on how it's coming through. And it just shows that the people drawing this shit, beyond just the mechs, they're very good at body language. Just tiny little things like that. It's nice.
Focused entirely on propagating its belief system and overcoming any threat through precise applications of violence. It exists as a system of control to rein in the brutality inherent in civilization by regulating military forces and their use to ensure civilization endures even if the individual does not. Their society is built to ensure that the very best shall lead and everyone else supports them.
I mean, sometimes that worked. And again, I'm just going to go back to the fact that some of the clans were actually pretty damn cool. Others, yeah. When we get to the operations done by the Inner Sphere to wipe out some of the clans in particular, I'm hoping we hear about them getting their asses kicked. I'm pretty sure they won't. But there's a few clans that were mustache twirling evil. Yeah.
But
or
even
standard
in
Lao.
Systems of control,
Oh,
there
I don't know what that is.
always
That's probably clan. I don't know what
exists
that is.
the potential for disaster.
The final death of the old guard. Considering what he just said about the potential for disaster and saying the death of the old guard and the final one at that, and I was hoping all the survivors who had integrated into the clans would just, fade away of old age and just make the mark as being strong leaders who survived and lived on past their prime and still were amazingly strong until maybe just in an epic battle they died, and just like something cool and maybe not as depressing as Kerensky. Just watching everything fall apart and everyone around him is dead and it's kind of all feeling like it's helpless. Chevalier got the better ending. He went out fighting and doing exactly what he meant to and succeeding enough that the people he cared about survived, and his team, his men, his women, and possibly literally his girlfriend. I don't know. It's with Syria. People said it might be true, might not be, but he's dead, so it's not going to happen. I was hoping they'd just have a peaceful end, but of course it's the clans. There's not possibly a peaceful end. This is going to be bloodshed and backstabbery, isn't it?
In these early years, there was a measure of severe discontent among the more powerful clans.
Oh?
As a fiercely competitive culture geared toward handling issues principally through highly focused, violent trials, discontent has, of course, every potential for very lethal consequences.
I'm wondering if this is before or after the bidding system took on as just a honor thing, as opposed to the, why are we going to weaken ourselves? I mean, yeah, we get honor, but we could also just get everything. It's probably the thought process.
Ilkhan Nicholas Kerensky had been most impressed by Clan Wolf during Operation Klondike and had decided to join them formally.
So I guess that's just the age-old question. What would you do for a Klondike? Make Clan Wolf the Mary Sue, apparently. God damn it.
After a trial, of course, because that's how they do practically everything.
Mm-hmm.
Clan Jade Falcon was pretty goddamn mad at this. Outwardly, they were of course honorable and subservient, but...
Okay, need to be said. We got generic smart man who's telling you not to do something stupid. We got the guy in the background who's probably going to die, but will be really awesome about. We got generic protagonist, and then there's this guy. His neck has a chin, but his chin doesn't actually exist into his neck because there is no jawline there. Like, literally, this is a deformity. This is what happens when someone accidentally peed in the, I guess, baby formula when they put it into the gene bods or whatever, like just the random growth chambers they have. And it's like, we dropped a little as an embryo. They won't notice. And then there's this guy. You can tell exactly where they put the budget on this picture.
But many within Jade Falcon felt that Jade Falcon alone deserved the great honor of Nicholas Kerensky's potential membership in their Cool Kids Club.
That's what they were fighting over? It wasn't just... It was literally Daddy Senpai notice me. As someone who supports the inner sphere, I gleefully partake in making up stupid names for a puce turkey. God damn, I never expected they would humiliate themselves more than I could do intentionally.
While Jade Falcon leadership knew their place, the rank and file expressed greater and greater discontent at the seeming lack of wisdom displayed by Ilkhan Nicholas Kerensky. If he wasn't wise enough to join Clan Jade Falcon after all, what else was he unwise about? This came to a head in July of...
I mean, they're not wrong, but also how do you pick up the exact wrong answer for all of the right reasons, but also the complete wrong reasons?
2823. Ilkhan Kerensky was intent on visiting Clan Jade Falcon and their holdings on Eden. Discontent and rumblings among the rank and file were at an all-time high, and, well, with Kerensky on his way to see what was really going on.
He knows there's
Hazen, as one of the few people in history to take a sword to a gunfight and win, acted as she did best.
What?
She found out who was unhappy And she got rid of them. All of them. By the time Kerensky arrived...
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Goddamn. Do they have enough warriors to support that? Because it sounds like she just gutted her own clan.
The ringleaders were executed and bodies put on public display to be picked apart by animals. Only a bare few escaped punishment.
I'd like to point out, for anyone who's not insane like Nicholas Kerensky, arriving to people on spikes everywhere would usually be an indication that maybe you're walking into a hostile situation, as opposed to here where she's literally making it so he doesn't walk into a hostile situation, which is really the ironic part.
This severe. What had once been an officer of the Black Watch was now the founding Khan of Clan Jade Falcon, and she would ensure none dared threaten order from within.
Oh, that's making it worse. Not what she's... Because, yeah, she already went with one insurrection. This is literally twigging off all the paranoia from the Black Watch. This is literally looking at a woman who's broken by her own trauma right there. She's not even doing something wrong, per se, well, other than the mass murder. Or, you know, not talking out. But we don't expect people in this situation to talk. They should, but they won't. What's making this worse is the music in the background, because it has that epic quality, but it's cut down in volume and on a lower register, so it sounds mournful, almost like funeral-esque. It still has an epic quality of, yeah, but it's like, yeah. God damn, this is a Pyrrhic victory. I hate it, but it's cool, but god damn. Just listen to this little bit of the riff in the background and tell me it doesn't give the impression of badass, but in pain and kind of fucked up.
She would ensure none dared threaten order from within or without.
Yeah.
And this would set a precedent for how a clan could deal with such internal problems.
Mass murder for everyone.
And this is just one example of the problems the new clans faced.
One.
For while Clan Jade Falcon had suffered a few dissatisfied warriors grumbling about political power and honor and all that nonsense, there was a whole clan upset at how things were unfolding.
What?
I'm going to have to tell you about the final death of the old guard.
I have a feeling I'm not going to like what comes next. I thought I didn't like what happened to Hazen. Just like she was so cool, and now she's... Well, Amaris would approve. Which is probably the most damning thing I could say, but also, sadly, I think it's accurate. I mean, he wouldn't approve the entire, him being dead part, but the tactics, he would be like, okay, yeah, I can stand by those. Specifically, with someone else being shot. And of course, the brutality inherent in just this overarching pile of bullshit makes sense because they're prioritizing society being more peaceful by regulating it. But they're going with the entire idea of, fuck the individual. Specifically, you don't matter, we can kill you. And they're taking literally the tone of it that 40K does to the individuality of, okay, yeah, sure. It's just a person's life. Fuck them. Let them die. Or in fact, let's just kill them flat out. And because it's a person who's literally at the equivalent of PTSD, but with a sword. And why do I have a feeling it's just about to get worse? It's about to get worse, isn't it? Oh, God.
Those who remembered the time before Nicholas Kerensky and his brave new world, and who, in their audacity, dared to oppose him. This is, at least in brief, the story of Clan Wolverine.
Oh no. People were telling me about Wolverine for a while now. It's like, yeah, you're going to love them. And already I can tell, yeah, I'm probably going to love them. And it's going to hurt more, isn't it? Oh no. No, 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 no.
In the end, it was a truly magnificent tragedy. But I feel this story is important to the early years of the clans, and I need to cover this in some detail. I have to say at this juncture there exists the very real and difficult issue of trying to confirm these events.
Oh?
As with the outcome of this whole endeavor, it was obvious that this story is something the clanners wanted to erase from historical record. While they tried their best in that endeavor, records do still exist. And from those piecemeal records I can say that not all was well in the early years of the clanner civilization. There's a hell of a lot to say about Clan Wolverine, and I fully intend to tell their story on its own in the future.
God! I'm hoping he means future as in this video, because you're hyping them up so much, and I can already figure out exactly what you're about to say, because you set a really good groundwork for exactly the kind of bullshit that's about to happen. I have an idea. But also, again, I'm just going to do a little call out to the music choice right here. It's changed from just a few seconds ago when he was talking about introducing Clan Wolverine. And they had the logo up right around, what was it? I think it should be, here we go. Here. It had really small, slow dirge steps. It was going D, D. Just individual poignant notes, just drawn out. Louder, or I guess higher pitch, not highest pitch, but medium high pitch, I guess, range wise. So you can still hear a bit of that hopeful spark of it, but then it just fades off, letting you know it might sound hopeful, but it's more like a dying hope. Something beautiful fading away. So you kind of love it, but also it's tragic. So basically a badass, glorious tragedy, which is kind of what he's going for. So the music choice works perfectly. And then it switches over to the background here, where it just starts becoming ominous as fuck. That's the technical term. Just listen to what is being shown through the musical choices.
Story is something the clanners wanted to erase
got the
from
last
historical record. While they tried their best in that endeavor, records do still exist. And from those piecemeal records, I can say that not all was...
See that? You heard that one last little note, but it was much lower and almost sounded modulated, and it fell off. And then there's like a wobbling, trill, drawn-out effect right behind it, slowly replacing it as it's drawing out. So you can see the various audio cues are being overlapped and switching out. One, it's really hard to notice, but I think it's absolutely brilliant of a choice because it almost sounds like audio static. In the same way there's heavy distortion on the image here and you see every little line, it almost looks like fingerprints laid out on every single space that's not dark black, which is probably some kind of early computer generation thing. I don't know this pattern of art. I've seen it a lot with BattleTech, specifically older stuff. But yeah, it definitely has the look of this as an audio cue. Nice little effect of utilizing synesthesia there. It wasn't intentional? I don't know, but it works.
Well, in the early years of the clanner civilization, there's a hell of a lot to say about Clan Wolverine, and I fully intend to tell their story on its own in the future. But I hope this brief version of
so he's still going to give us
enough
something
for our
at least.
purposes here and now. The head of Clan Wolverine was Sarah McEvedy, daughter of the legendary SLDF General James McEvedy, who was in turn the last commanding officer of the 331st Royal Battle Mech Division. Sarah was an accomplished command-level officer, firm believer in the foundational morals and principles of the Star League, but also, and perhaps most contentiously, a free thinker.
Oh.
And being a free thinker in clan society was a dangerous occupation. She reasoned that in the same way Nicholas Kerensky led Clan Wolf, and by Ilkhan provided leadership and guidance to the clans as a whole, she should be free to determine the course her own clan would take.
Which is ironic, because isn't that how most clans view their internal, management? I mean, they mostly agree on a lot of things, but I know there's significant differentiation. But Nicholas is still alive at this point. That would be the difference, yeah.
This was a mistake. Whereas Nicholas Kerensky had opted to instill the virtues of honor and glory through Zellbriggen, preferring to challenge opponents in single combat, Sarah McEvedy dared to use Star League tactics to include combined operations warfare. She saw no good goddamn reason to tie her hands in the affairs of war, that honor was just a word to be used by people who'd never held a fucking gun, and her rulership of her own clan reflected just that.
Yeah, everyone who said I would love her clan, they were right. Already, I'm very much on the idea of, this is the lady who would get shit done. But also, I could easily see if they ever do an alternate timeline where she survives and Nicholas dies right now through inexplicable means, kind of like they actually did for the timeline where the clans never left because Kerensky got sick and died before the Exodus. Yeah, no, check it out. There's a PDF on, I'm pretty sure, Catalyst's main page itself. It's buried somewhere on their website. I have terrible time getting through their stuff, but that is a PDF about a scenario where the clans never left. That is a real thing. You can find it. I'm wondering if they have a scenario where this changed, because honestly, I could see this becoming a much more dangerous setup. Also, can you imagine what the clan invasion would look like if they didn't stick to honor? If they went in as a unified giant pile of, okay, we're going to use actual good tactics and make sure we win, more importantly than anything else, because honor doesn't matter if you're dead, because then you're dead and you got no one to carry a flag or a torch for you because you're dead. They're probably dead too. Also known as, how Starling fought. Especially at the end when, sacrifice everything because you had to win. It's the difference between someone who fights because they have to versus a sport fighter, which is really all it seems clans are. I'm still stuck on that revelation. It's kind of annoying to me, but I don't get why it doesn't make sense, but it also makes perfect sense. More importantly, I would love to see that. If anyone knows where I can find maybe a version of history or fan fiction or maybe an actual honest-to-God PDF Catalyst sponsors, let me know. That'd be really cool.
Her leadership was seen as dangerous and subversive as she exercised thinking for herself rather than emulating the so-called wisdom of Nicholas Kerensky.
Wisdom, my ass.
She found herself at odds with clan systems of belief on more than one occasion. For instance, she allowed her people to migrate between castes, as she believed and found that folks were more productive and, dare say, more fulfilled when they could shape their own destinies through hard work
And that's the part that does annoy me. Not that she's doing it, but there was a section text went over about how it's a meritocracy. People can reach where they want if they're really damn good at it. Followed by, she's subversive by doing exactly that. Because it's a meritocracy of, we'll let you if we think you've earned it, as opposed to earn it and we'll let you do it after you do.
Fulfilled ambitions. She found that people who were talented enough and tried hard enough to better themselves could in fact better the clan as a whole through their hard work and dedication. This went against Nicholas's vision, and accordingly, she was called to task. Her reforms or interpretations of the clan system was something dangerous not only as it went against the wants of Nicholas Kerensky.
Yeah, I love how the most important part there wasn't that it went against the clans, it went against what Nicholas wanted, because goddamn adult man-child.
But in that, it was actually successful.
Yeah.
By shifting the castes around and enacting reforms aimed to fix the system from within, she managed to not only increase food output and economic output, she managed to even push the scientist caste to develop technological marvels beyond what other clans had been able to achieve up to that point. Soon, Sarah's reforms resulted in an ascendant clan Wolverine, a clan with bountiful logistical capacity, abundant supplies, happy people, wealthy coffers, and technology surpassing their peers.
And it makes perfect sense why Nicholas probably absolutely hates her. Not because she's challenging him, but because she's getting the one thing he could never in any way, shape, or form acknowledge. She's good at it. She's good at leading. She's doing well. Her people are basically doing everything he wanted. And he's going to commit the stupid here, isn't he? I know I talked previously in some of the earlier episodes about how the clans seem very stagnant, in my opinion. And it's because of everything that just happened here. It's innovation being allowed to happen. I know people are going to say, well, yeah, there's a lot of changes and upgrades. Like, yeah, they had upgrades, but it's not with the hundreds of years they had. They should have been well beyond where they were by the end. They had nice, significant incremental upgrades of a truly epic scale. And coming from the inner sphere where they were literally ooh, rocks, ha, hit, fire, as an unironic place in their technological growth in some places, yeah. But honestly, with hundreds of years of technological development time, they should have been well advanced. And I'm assuming if they ever get around to showing these guys, I'm just going to pretend they're surviving. And maybe like, say, future arc, it's like, okay, we're finally moving on the inner sphere. I cannot speak there. Moving beyond the inner sphere. And it'll be like, hey, here's the Wolverine survivors. Please tell me there's Wolverine survivors. Actually, lie to me. Tell me there's Wolverine survivors, because I'm right now assuming there's going to be a Nicholas organized jihad to kill them all because they perverted the clan way of life by being better at it than we are. Yeah.
But this drew the sort of attention that, in clanner society, was unacceptable.
How dare you do things better?
Over time, Nicholas Kerensky assigned several clans to watch Wolverine for deviancy. And when Sarah McEvedy tried to ferret out these spies, the other clans took it as a sign she was guilty. For they believed, who would be afraid of being watched if they were doing what they should?
Anyone who doesn't trust the leader.
The other clans saw Clan Wolverine as a dangerous antagonist and a destabilizing influence on the foundation of their entire society.
Yeah, God knows we can't have a destabilization of this giant pile of fuck up. It's stable in one respect, but also super stupid.
Thinking Clan Wolverine was displaying unclan-like behavior.
How dare they be good at actually having civilization?
Began to become openly critical and belligerent of Clan Wolverine in Grand Council sessions. Sarah wasn't an idiot. She knew she was being singled out.
Yeah.
She kept doing what she thought was best for her people and refused to amend her ways, instead perhaps hoping to provide for an alternative path to greatness.
And that right there is probably the most unforgivable thing that could ever happen to a leader that's been shown up, specifically as far as Nicholas goes. He's showing that she is showing that Nicholas is wrong, that all the other clans are holding themselves back. And because she's showing them that there's another way, anyone who could see that there's a better way might not trust the leaders, and that's a threat to power. And thus we have established the clans are literally no better than the inner sphere because they're doing the same stupid political bullshit that caused the succession wars. To a lesser extent, but let's be honest, we know exactly what's coming.
A step away from the pseudo-spiritual nonsense of Nicholas Kerensky, she wanted to demonstrate that by using good reason, sound logic, and this thing called actual wisdom, a clan could improve in ways that were mutually beneficial to all. Where other clans were content to stratify their society and burden it with endless rules, ritual, honor, and ceremony, she preached cooperation and reasonable conduct that they could all handsomely profit from. Needless to say, the disregard of Nicholas Kerensky and his supposed wisdom made Clan Wolverine many enemies. Things started to get truly bad in July of 2823. In July, an old Brian cache was found within Wolverine territory. The abandoned stockpile of military equipment was a tremendous boon for Clan Wolverine.
Okay, one, how would they have abandoned stockpiles here? I mean, I could be mistaken, but they had just reached these areas and they hadn't been there long enough for things to be lost yet. I was under the impression it's been close to half a century, not a century or more. How would they be able to lose caches already? It doesn't seem... Has more time passed than I realized? Nicholas is still alive, and it couldn't be more than 30 years. How do you lose a cache of weapons only to find it now? Or was the Star League really good about throwing out random caches well before Kerensky's time? I'm probably missing something obvious here. Maybe it's a relic from the wars, but no, the clans moved out further. I'm probably missing something obvious. Just let me know in the comments.
And as such, it was something the other clans greatly desired. Clan Jade Falcon tried to win the cache through a trial of possession.
And they lost?
And Jade Falcon lost. Badly. But, being sore losers, Clan Jade Falcon brought up the issue of the cache to the Grand Council in
Hey, will you look at that? Power, greed, envy. and small-minded idiots content in their own power and disparaging of anyone who challenges it. It's a good thing there's nothing like the inner sphere at all.
August of 2823. You see, it just wasn't a small arms stockpile. It was an enormous arms stockpile. It contained, among other things, a multitude of nuclear ordnance. Due to that and goofy laws clanners have regarding such things, Nicholas Kerensky determined the cache would be split up through trials of possession.
They have trials of possessions for nukes. You know, I'm not surprised they have trials of possessions for nukes. I'm more surprised he didn't immediately claim them. I literally think that's the kind of dick move he would go for.
To ensure
Considering
everyone
who has
had
them.
a chance at taking ownership of at least a part, Sarah McEvedy tried to protest using a trial of refusal. She failed, but then she made a mistake.
What?
I don't blame her for this. Above all, she was plainly tired of Nicholas Kerensky's shit. But rather than sit on her hands and pretend to obey, she called him on it, publicly.
Oh.
To the Grand Council and all assembled. She stated it was impossible to have any fair treatment for her clan due to the interference of others. She pointed out the espionage conducted against her clan and provided evidence of being watched, of being relentlessly spied upon, and being manipulated. She pointed out that the clanner intelligence service, what would someday be called the Watch, was organized principally to work in an antagonistic manner toward the Wolverines, and sadly, she wasn't wrong.
Yeah, that's a mistake. It's a justified one and not a wrong one. And frankly, by some definition of honor, not speaking the truth is dishonorable. I'm sure the clan has no problem with that one because they all agree exactly what the truth is, and nobody would ever say otherwise at this time period. But in flat-out feudalistic societies like this, the number one rule of thumb is you don't call out the polite fiction. You let it go because you don't have any way to say no. So you play along and hope it doesn't hurt. And if that sounds nihilistic as fucking horrible, it should, because it is. And as much as the previous section we looked at ended with, again, Kerensky just has all these people, specifically Nicholas is like, oh yeah, we don't want to be like those neo-feudalistic inner spheres, as opposed to the flat-out feudalistic clanners. At this point, it is just feudalism. It is nothing but feudalism.
So rather than try to appease everyone,
Fuck
or
'em all.
bend the knee to Nicholas and all those arranged against her, she told them to fuck off. And fortunate for us, a recording of this very exchange survives to this day, raising
Nice.
questions as to its source.
Oh, hey, look, a scam.
My honorable friend, the Khan from Clan Wolverine.
Okay, one. Yeah, I'm not even going to bring up the bullshit of honorable friend. Yeah, his pants are so brown with the shit he's spewing. Should be his shirt too, and maybe a handkerchief he probably has on there. Sensibilities, of course. But why do they have to give him a really respectable, honestly cool voice? Why?
Continues to ignore the decisions of this body as verified by the recent trial.
Stupid trial.
I do not care that the cache is of the 331st Royal Division, her father's command. This body is agreed that the caches are a resource belonging to the clans as a whole. In the old order, her paternal loyalty would be commended. But this is not the old order.
Okay, one. Fuck you. Just go fuck yourself, Nicholas. Two. Yeah, can you imagine if someone was just banking on their daddy's legacy? I mean, that would be like someone using the name Kerensky and promoting themselves to general to make themselves similar to their father and their levels of bullshit. I mean, that would be... No one would ever possibly survive being able to say that at this point in time.
We are the clans. We stand on our own merits, not those of our ancestors.
Sure about that?
Except you.
Oh, yeah, boy! I was not expecting that. I was expecting some flowery, over-the-top speech in the dialogue Nicholas is holding himself to. Rather than plain speak that nobody can possibly misunderstand, stating an absolute truth that he is very aware of. Also, yeah, there's no way she's walking out of this alive. Just for this line alone, you know she's committing her death right here. But goddamn!
I beg your pardon.
You should, you're horrible.
I said, except you. You seem perfectly happy to bask in your father's achievements. He was a visionary who saw justice and peace for all. You seek control.
McEvedy, you go too far.
She goes exactly far enough.
I know many of you in this chamber found our Ilkhan's actions to secure control of the Pentagon population offensive. The Star League did not believe in torture and brutality. Those are the tools of power-hungry madmen. Is that
Funny,
what
who's in the room who
you
does that?
become, Nicholas Kerensky? A power-hungry madman?
Yes.
Silence! McEvedy, Khan of Clan Wolverine. I, Nicholas Kerensky, Il Khan of the clans, do call for a trial of grievance.
I just realized what he is. He's literally just a chuny right now. He's making a... like, in the future, when there's tradition and centuries and decades of history to go with this, it would make perfect sense for someone else to say this with a straight face. But literally, from his perspective, these are all the fancy words and titles he gave himself to make himself seem awesome. And while he could back it up with a lot of intelligence, he's literally just living out his chuny fantasy right now. Oh, God.
By our law, you
Hang
may...
your laws. Does the truth hurt so much,
Yes.
Nicholas?
Fellow Khans, our colleague is clearly overwrought. I call for a vote of censure. Lawmaster Ward, please.
Don't bother, Nicholas. I'll leave. In fact,
Ward, really? I know there's no relation to the GM writer Ward, but that's where my mind went right away, considering lore master. I assume they're not related. There's no relation to Matt Ward, right? That would be hilarious if they were also Warhammer fans, and this is their way of just getting one over on him. Huh. No, it's definitely they're not related, right?
we'll all leave. Clan Wolverine no longer recognizes the authority of the Ilkhan or the Grand Council.
Ooh.
From this point forward, we are an independent power. We decide our own fate, fairly and according to the morals and standards of the Star League.
You cannot do this.
I can,
She just
and
did.
I have.
Arrest her.
Fire,
If you want
please
to
fire.
face us, fine. But we will not hold back. Prepare to reap the whirlwind.
Please fire. And the biggest slap in the face in this entire thing, they let her walk out in front of the Khan who she just pulled a pistol on. He didn't do anything to her. He let her do it and let her walk out. After challenging her, after throwing it in his face, she got to walk out. I mean, I'm assuming someone assassinates her within the next 10 seconds after I'm pausing here. But goddamn, that is the biggest slap in the face for someone with the small, tiny ego that Kerensky has. Sorry, Nicholas. I won't use the name Kerensky when I'm talking about that little man-child.
My Khans, we face a serious decision.
And that's sadly all we have. That the record survived says a great deal, for the facts of it are certainly dangerous to Nicholas Kerensky's legacy.
Yeah, they are, and I love this entirely. Oh, it just gives me a nice warm feeling in the cockles of my heart. Also, I've been told that's actually a thing in your heart, which is weird when you think about it. I try not to. And we're just going to cut this one here because I'm absolutely certain that even though we're on a high note right now, if I watch another 5 seconds, it's going to stop being a high note. So we're just going to cut it here and leave the depression for next week because this is so freaking cool, man. Let me have this. Let me have this. Also, please tell me he made the Wolverine video already. I know he's made a bunch. I haven't looked at what they are because I don't want to get spoilers. Even though I wouldn't be spoilers. Other than Warhammer, which I know that's the newest one. Just let me lie to me and tell me there's more about Wolverine because this is so freaking cool. She literally said all the things I wanted to say and then she did it. Best clan. Absolute best clan. Oh, man. Also, if it doesn't perfectly set up a plot line where they just happen to get revealed so much later in the future as a civilization that's gone pretty damn far and doesn't want or need the Inner Sphere or clan invasions, well, I mean, what they will probably take as invasions and resist bloodily and make it why it becomes a setting, I'm fully expecting that. I don't think that's happened yet, because as far as I know, they're still stuck on the Inner Spheres where everything happens, even with the clans now being more just part of the Inner Sphere, it seems, from an outsider's perspective who doesn't know much beyond the clan invasion. Yeah, even my knowledge of the Jihad is better than anything that comes after that. And I know practically nothing about that, except World of Blake is kind of fucked up. Deliciously fucked up in the sense that it's just a really cool villain to have as an antagonist faction. Because every now and again, like, if every villain is evil, it gets boring. But if there's just one that is mind-numbingly evil and over the top, it's just really cool because it's a nice spice of something different. Yeah, I'm just going to cut this one here. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. And if there's anything more you know about these guys, let me know because I really want more about this. This is so freaking cool, man. But yeah, all the same. Link below. Hit it up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.